When you hear the word A, what do you think of? Do you think of perfection? Do you think of someone who has never gotten an answer wrong ever? Do you think of someone who's never struggled with an assignment and never had a bad day? Because if that's what A means, then I probably would not be making this argument right now. But I don't think that that's what an A is supposed to mean. I think that an A is supposed to represent the overall quality of someone's work, their understanding, their effort, and what they were able to demonstrate throughout the course. And that's why I'm here today. I'm making this case that when my entire performance in this course is considered, my grade should be an A. I want to be clear from the beginning that I'm not going to tell you that every grade that I received was perfect, because the grade books show otherwise that it wasn't. And I'm not going to pretend or ignore that it wasn't either. Instead, I'm going to make this argument using the same thing that taught me throughout this course: evidence. When I took the chance and I looked back at the grade book, one of the first things that really stood out to me was my impromptu speech reflection. I am very proud of this assignment that I did because I received the 8 out of 8, or per se 100%. And I also received an 87.50% on my citation speech and my supporting document. And I also got the exact same grading on my enrichment speech with my supporting documents as well. Those grades are important to my argument because they are not just random completion assignments that you get through. They were connected to actual communication and speech work. And that is honestly what this entire course is built around. This is public speaking. But my strongest evidence is not those grades. When I also looked back at the grade book as a whole, I found a lot of 100% scores down the line. I received 100% on multiple completion activities, some assessments, and so much more. So when I look at my gradebook overall, I do not see one good grade. I see a pattern of hard work. And that brings me to my main point here. This is what I really want you guys to remember from this speech. Do not judge an entire semester by its lowest number, because that's my maximum, and that's the idea that I want to leave you with. Because I think that it's easy that one low grade, you can let that number be your entire story. But the semester is not just one quiz. The semester is not just one assignment, and the semester honestly is not just one grade. My entire grade book, when I look back of it, is a body of work. Now, I know that there is obvious, counter argument to what I'm saying right now. Someone can look at my grade books right now and say, well, you have some pretty good grades that aren't very good. And they're right. They're right. I do. I received the 75% on one of my comprehension quizzes, and I also received the 80% on another one. I also received the 50% on the M9 theory and practice. And then my lowest grade, I received the 33.33% on the M10 comprehension quiz. Those grades are there, and I'm not hiding them. Honestly, I think what would make my argument weaker is if I tried to pretend that they did not exist. Because persuasion isn't about pretending that the other side doesn't have other point. It's about acknowledging that point and then explaining why your argument still holds value. And that is exactly what I'm doing. Now, I know that those grades could have been better, but I don't believe that those grades tell the entire story of my own performance. The same grade book contains, those scores also contains 100% throughout the score that I did, and the impromptu speech that I also did. It also supports my 87.5%, 2 times that I got on both assignments that were actually written in regards to communication. It contains other assessments where I demonstrated that I actually understood the material. I went through the material. So which one tells the story? The answer is all of them. And that's why I don't want to make my final grade to be determined by the lowest point in my grade book, because I wanted to really represent the entire semester and also reflect on when I did have the really lowest grades, I also made improvement. And that is something I can actually connect on when I look back to what we've learned throughout this entire course. One of the biggest things that I've learned about everything is that communication is not just about what you say, but it's about how you support what you say. And it's really about understanding your audience. It's about knowing what evidence really matters to back up what you're trying to give. And it's about really willing to look at your own argument honestly from both perspectives. And that's what I'm trying to do with this speech. I'm not asking for A because I want one. I'm giving you reasons why I believe my work supports one. I'm using my actual grades, and I'm acknowledging the grades that weren't as strong. I'm explaining the context, and I'm using persuasive techniques to what we've learned to make my case stronger. That's also where I see the idea of cover, remix, and interpolation coming into the speech. Because instead of simply repeating a speech, I'm taking those ideas and I'm applying them to my own situation. The subject of persuasive speech is that it's my final grade. But those tools I'm using to make this argument are the tools we've practiced throughout the entire course. In a way, I feel like the final assignment is giving me one last opportunity to show that I've actually learned what the course is teaching. And I think that that is very important, because I'm not just saying I've learned persuasive speaking, I'm demonstrating it. I'm making a claim, I'm supporting the evidence, I'm addressing the opposite side, and I'm telling a story about my own experience. And I'm trying to make an argument in a way that will actually be remembered. And there's also a personal side to this, because when I normally look at my grades, I really focus on the lowest grades in the numbers. If I see 100, I feel good. If I see a 50, I feel bad. But I'm going back through my work for this portfolio, and it made me stop and look at the entire semester, not just what's good and what's bad. And what I saw was not perfection. What I saw was progress. I saw assignments where I did really well. I saw assignments where I struggled. I saw work that I completed successfully, and I saw areas that could have been more effort put into it, or I could have went about it in a different approach. But I also saw that I kept going and I didn't give up, and I think that that's worth something. A grade should tell us more about a student's performance, but I don't think that a single number or a single letter can tell everything about a student. And that's what I keep coming back to. The main point is that my grades is not a single score, it is a body of work. And when you look at the body of work, I believe that the evidence supports why I deserve an A. I have strong grades on related to speech assignments. I have multiple 100% throughout the scoreboard, and I completed a large amount of the work for the required course. I demonstrated that I understood the different types of assignments, and now in this final speech, I'm applying communication and persuasion skills that I've learned from this course to make my argument strong. I'm not asking you to ignore my weaker grades. I'm asking you to put it in perspective. I'm not asking you to believe that I was perfect, but I'm asking you to look at the entire semester. I'm not asking you to just give me an A just because I want one. I'm asking you to look at the evidence and decide whether the overall body of the work supports it. If I could leave you with one final thought, do not judge the semester by its lowest number. Judge it by the work as a whole, because my lowest grade is a part of my story, and my highest grade is also a part of my story. My completed assignments are also a part of my story, and my mistakes are also a part of my story. My growth is a part of my story, and my speech is a part of my story as well. So looking back at everything I've completed, everything I've learned, and everything that I put into perspective, I believe that A is a fair representation of my overall performance for the course. Not because I was perfect, but because I showed that I can learn, and also that I apply what I learned, and I can also communicate my ideas and make a case for myself using the skills that we've learned throughout this course that was designed to teach. That is my argument, that is my evidence, and that is why I deserve that I should have an A. Thank you.